وكلا نقص عليك من أنباء الرسل ما نثبت به فؤادك وجاءك في هذه الحق وموعظة وذكرى للمؤمنين.
Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, we come to another session of Musa and Harun alayhim as-salatu was-salam. And we've been discussing this for a few weeks, and we come to a session today where we're going to focus on his travel, where he meets Khidr, Al-Khidr, a very strange and unusual person, someone who has been clearly put into the Quran for a big reason. And we're going to study that inshallah today. Now, this whole session is going to reveal to us a lot of different things. Okay, I may not be able to finish it today. If I can't, then inshallah we'll finish it up next week. So this part is in Surah Kahf, which is Surah number 18, ayah number 60, ayah 60. And what happens according to a hadith of Bukhari is that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he gets up and he starts to give, advice to Bani Israel, the people that are his people. And as he gives them advice, one of them, stands up and asks him a question. And the question is, "O Musa, who is the most knowledgeable one on the earth today?" Now the question is directed to Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam knows that he is the only Rasul at this time. He knows that Harun alayhi salam is a prophet, fine, but above him is Musa himself. And he knows that there are no other Rasul, no other messengers on the earth that particular time. Okay, so we're talking about that particular time. And what he does is that he answers the question by looking into what the earth has at the moment. And he thinks, well, I know the Sharia. I know what Allah is telling me through the Torah, giving me revelation. And he's also thinking that Allah Azza wa Jal talks to me direct. And the knowledge that one gets from Allah is going to be something which supersedes anybody else. Right? There's no other knowledge that goes beyond the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And Allah is giving that knowledge to him directly. So who else on the earth at that time can be more knowledgeable than Musa himself? So he says, I am the most knowledgeable of the people of this earth. Now he gives his answer according to what he knows. But Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to tell him that, look, just because I spoke to you, just because I gave you knowledge from myself, just because I called you for 40 nights and I gave you the Torah, just because you know the Sharia, just because you're the only Rasul on the earth, just because just you and Harun are the two prophets that you know of. And even though I haven't got another prophet on the earth, it doesn't mean that you're still the most knowledgeable on the earth. And this is a big lesson for not only Musa alayhi salam, it's a big lesson for all of us. Which means that just because you and me might have something we know so well, it doesn't mean that Allah hasn't created somebody else on the earth that knows it better than us or knows more than us. And it's a way to humble Musa alayhi salam. And he's going to become so humble, you see in the story, that he's just at one time he's amazed, and another time he gets frustrated. And then when Allah reveals the end of the story, we're sitting there, we're thinking, wow, if only we could have learned more from this individual. And even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith, at the end of the hadith of Bukhari, he says that if Musa alayhi salam had more sabr, then we would have learned more. Okay, now this is all Allah's doing. Musa alayhi salam and him having his knowledge is Allah's doing, and also the person he meets is also Allah's doing. So what happens is that Allah reveals to Musa, "Oh Musa, you think that you're the most knowledgeable, but I've got another individual that I've created on the earth, and I'm also giving him knowledge. You're not the only one. And I give him knowledge not through earning the knowledge. I give him knowledge directly without him having to learn this knowledge." Now there's a difference between Musa alayhi salam and him being the prophet he is, and this individual Khidr. Why? Because Musa alayhi salam has had to go through a lot in his life to get to this stage. And we've covered this in the past good few weeks. You know, from the time he was born to through palace of Fir'aun and fleeing from there and marrying Shu'aib's daughter, and then after that him becoming, you know, lost in a place, and then he sees the fire. From there he's spoken to, and from there he has to come to Fir'aun, and so many trials he has to go through. And then after that, when he rescues Banu Israel and Fir'aun is drowned, then he goes through so many trials with the Banu Israel, and he just to get the Torah he had to go there for 40 nights and fast, and then after that Allah gave him that, and even then he's got so many trials that came after, you know, thereafter. But anyway, this other individual, Allah says in ayah number 65 of Surah 18, He says, وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا, I just gave him the knowledge just from myself, without him having to have any of this. Now what this teaches us is, there are people on this earth Allah just will gift. Even though you may be greater in the sight of Allah for whatever reason, and you might have other gifts, there are other individuals, Allah will just give it to them just like that, without any hard work. I'm sure you've seen this. You know, when you study in school or college or university, you see that there's some guy here, subhanallah, you know, he doesn't even study, but he knows it all. You come across those guys? Yes or no? Come on. Yes. There are individuals like that, yeah? But the other side to it is this. Those of them who have to make effort to learn something, they will become people who will be able to live with the normal society, and they will understand and relate to them better. But those people who just have it, like they know it, they don't operate the same way as everybody else. They have deficiencies. And you look in the, like one of the people that you may want to look into is savants. Okay, S-A-V-A-N-T-S, savants. Now savants are people in the earth, you'll get one in probably, I don't know, maybe 100 million people. They are very rare people. But their brain works in a way that they'll do something which you and me just cannot do. They will do amazing things, whether it's in music, whether it's in talent of just words. You know, and sometimes this happens because they're born like this, and sometimes it happens because they got an injury to the head. Now, scientists haven't still worked out how savants operate and what happens to them. They're just amazed at them. Sometimes it's in maths. They're so unique in their knowledge of maths that me and you, even a computer can't beat them. Even a computer, you know, there are savants just in the number of pi. The number of pi, he knows it to the 42nd thousand point of a decimal. I mean, it's like what? And he knows it off by heart. There are savants who can see numbers like shapes and buildings. They see them like that. And you give them you can say to them, do for me 4,675 times 2,622, and they'll do it like that. Before you can even calculate that, press them in the calculator, they'll do it. These are human beings Allah has created. Okay, there are savants that have got, you know, musical things playing in their head, and they just play, you know, they've never learned music, how to play piano in their life, and all of a sudden it just comes in. One day it just comes in, and they just play, and they can play you anything without ever having one day of a piano, you know, lesson. There are savants who can read a book, and they've got photographic memory. There's one savant who would read, he could read an 800-page book in a few minutes, and he would remember every single word of it. And he would read not like humans, because humans normally, I mean, he's a human, okay, right? But not like ordinary humans, I mean, right? So ordinary humans will have to go line by line, and they'll have to read it like that. But a savant will, you know, this particular savant used to take one full picture of the whole page with his left eye, of the left page, and one full picture of the right page with his right eye, and he's scanned the whole thing in his head. And he'll read a book like this, literally like this. He's reading a book like that, and he's taken the full information. You can ask him anything on any page, he'll tell you. And some savants are in several areas, not one area. But you know, with all savants, one problem is that they've got difficulties, where they've got deficiencies. So some of them have, now many of them have got motor skill problems. So some of them might not be able to brush their teeth properly. Some of them can't talk to you properly. Some of them can't function in a normal way. There are very rare savants that can still function normally in a society after having that knowledge. Now, the point here is that you might have, somebody else might have a greater gift than you, but please remember, they've also got a deficiency in them, a social abnormal behavior that me and you can't explain. So anyway, Khidr, when he meets Khidr, Khidr is a bit like that. Khidr, may Allah be pleased with him, he is an individual who is unique, so different from everybody else, but at the same time he's got his own social abnormal things that just me and you can't get on with. Okay, so what happens? Let's go to the beginning of the story, ayah number 60 of Surah 18. Musa alayhi salam is told he's got to find this individual, but he doesn't know where to find him. So he says, "Oh Allah, how will I find this individual?" So Allah says, you will take with you a basket, and in that basket you will take a fish, a small fish. And when you take that small fish, it will be a dead small fish, dead. Okay, it's not alive. You will travel, and you will travel by the sea, and wherever this fish leaves the basket, exactly there is this individual. Now, what this shows also is that this unique person, so brilliant with what Allah has given him, is a rare piece who Allah has hidden. And there are people on the earth, even today, Allah has hidden from us, who you just cannot relate to, and you think he's just crazy, or there's no way this person can be a wali of Allah. There's no way this person can be a close person to Allah. And there are stories even in a hadith, and one particular story is Uwais al-Qarni. Okay, Uwais al-Qarni is a hadith in Muslim, where, and I'm only relating this because I want people to understand that awliyaullah, who are the close ones to Allah, these are individuals who could be on the earth. There are a few different types of awliyaullah. There are those awliyaullah who will be with us. They're with us, ordinary people. And there will be people who pray the five daily prayers. They just do all what they have to do, and they follow Islam as best as they can, and they are awliyaullah. Nobody knows. Even sometimes he himself doesn't know he's a wali of Allah. That's one category. There's another category where a wali of Allah, somebody who's close to Allah, he knows he's someone special because Allah has given him special gifts. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has talked about some of this. He said, "Firasatul mu'min." One of them is that he's got an inner sight into other people, like reading minds. Allah just naturally given them this ability of reading minds. And this is in ahadith. Okay? And sometimes they have these particular like mini miracles that they can do. Not anything that what a prophet would do, and then they will never claim prophethood. But it's a mini, something really small they may be able to do. And this is in the Quran about certain awliyaullah. So one of them is Maryam, who is the mother of Isa alayhi salam. She's a wali of Allah because she's in a chamber locked up. Nobody can get into her. And when Zakaria comes in, it's in the Quran, he finds that she's got grapes, or she's got fruits out of the season, and he's completely baffled by this. How did you get this? And she says, "Huwa min indillah," it's from Allah. She was so close to Allah, she wanted food, she prayed to Allah, and Allah just created it right next to her. She was eating and she was kind of praying to Allah. It's like for her it was just normal. So she's a wali of Allah. There's the Ashabul Kahf, the people of the cave, who went to the cave. They slept for 300 years, and when they got up, they didn't even realize. And these are awliyaullah because they put their faith in Allah, and Allah saved them through this miraculous event, sleeping for 300 years. There's many other stories that to do with awliyaullah. Now, Uwais al-Qarni, he was a wali of Allah in the Prophet's time. He never came to see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Never came to see him, though he was in his time. Now, who wouldn't go to see the Prophet ﷺ? You're a Muslim, okay? It's it's going to be a travel for a few days, wherever, but you can go and see the Prophet ﷺ. Who in the world would not go and see the Prophet ﷺ? But Uwais al-Qarni decided not to. Why? Because he had a mother who was in old age, and he was looking after her. And because of the sacrifice of his mother, he didn't even go and see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's how faithful he was to his mother. He never left her side. And because of that faithful element, now imagine this man, nobody knows who in the world he is. He's just the man, he heard of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He met someone who told him about him. He just believed in it. But he was an individual who was, someone who was recluse, someone to himself. And Rasulullah, imagine this, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has never seen this individual. But Allah inspired to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in Madinah Munawwara, while he was still alive, he said to his Sahaba, he said, there will be one day a man who will come. His name is Uwais al-Qarni. He is from Yemen. And from Yemen, he's from Mudar. And from Mudar, he's from this particular village. And from there, he is a man who had been struck with leprosy, or struck with, what's that when your whole skin goes all white? When his skin goes white? What's that?
Albino.
Sorry?
Albino.
Albino, yeah. So his basically whole skin went white. And then he became very devout person to Allah, and Allah cured his entire skin all over except for one small piece that's the size of a dirham on his back. That's the only piece Allah left as a mark for him to remember that, you know what, I got struck with albino once. Yeah. So he said, Rasulullah was saying that this man, he said, when he comes, he said to the Sahaba, make sure that you ask him to make dua for you. Because whatever dua he makes, Allah does not return it back. Allah will accept it. Now, can you imagine the Sahaba sitting there hearing that there is a man who will come one day, and he's in his time, and the man doesn't even come to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the Prophet has already said about this wali of Allah that exists in his time. And they never met each other. And the Prophet ﷺ passed away. And then Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's 2 years came. And he passed away. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, his time came. And Umar heard the Prophet ﷺ say this hadith. And he's thinking, I want to see this man. So every year when Umar radiallahu anhu used to go for Hajj, he used to say, who's from Yemen? He said, you from Yemen, you from Yemen. Do you know this man? Uwais al-Qarni? Nobody knew who this guy was. And he used to ask the people. So one Hajj, he thought, I've come for every Hajj, I'm asking all these Yemenis, they don't know who this Uwais al-Qarni is. So one Hajj, what he does is, he says, I want all the Yemenis to come. Every single Yemeni to come and sit here. So all the Yemenis come. He says, all of you who are from Yemen, he said, stand up here. He says, all of you who are not from Mudar, sit down. So the rest of them sit down and the Mudar people are standing. He said, all of you from Mudar, sit down except for this particular village. And he gets right to what Prophet ﷺ says, and there's only like a couple of them, or one person who's standing up. And he says, are you Uwais al-Qarni? And he says, no, I'm not. He says, do you know who he is? He says, yeah, we know Uwais. He's here, but he's here? He's here? He said, yeah, but what do you want to do with Uwais? We left him with our animals. He's looking after animals. So what do you want to do with Uwais? He said, Uwais is here, he's looking after your animals. He quickly got Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, come, let's go. So both of them went, and they went to where the Yemenis had left their animals, and they found this man who's completely disheveled. He's in his own world. He's like, he's not bothered, he's not, he's just looking after these, he's not doing anything. And they come up to him, and Umar radiallahu anhu says, are you from Yemen? He says, yes. He says, you from Mudar? Yes. You from this particular place? From Mudar? And Uwais is getting very annoyed with this, and he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know this is Amirul Mu'mineen, this is Umar. Okay, so he looks at him, he says, why? What are you asking? What do you want? So he said, were you struck with albino, and you got the whole body cured except for one part that is the size of a dirham on your back? And now Uwais is thinking, whoa, how did this man know about this? How does he know about this? And he's very reserved. He said, no, I don't want to kind of know you. And then the other people of Yemen had already come there, and Uwais is getting very, very defensive. Who's this man? Why is he asking me all these questions? What does he want to know about me? And Umar said, can you reveal please your back? And he said, what, you want me to reveal my back? And then the rest of the Yemen said, look, Uwais, take it easy. Because this is an abnormal individual. Uwais, take it easy. Just reveal your back, because this is Amirul Mu'mineen, Umar radiallahu anhu. So he reluctantly showed his back, and there it was, the size of a dirham of the whiteness on his back. And Umar said, my brother, he said, can you seek forgiveness on behalf of myself to Allah Azza wa Jal and say, Allah forgive me, Umar. So he did that. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, he was so happy to meet this individual. And look what the Prophet has said about this individual. Umar radiallahu anhu said, should I write to the governor of Yemen to look after you? He said, no, I don't want to be known by people. Now that the news broke, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Everybody wants to know who this madman Uwais. Now people want to know him. And Uwais used to regret, and he said, if it wasn't for Umar, nobody would know who I was. And then he went back to Yemen, and he would sit by the riverside. Just sit by the riverside, just in his own little world. But he's one of the greatest walis of his time. It is known because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And even the king would come and see him, and he would say, make dua for me, and he would make dua, but he would say, if it wasn't for Umar, people wouldn't have known about me. Now what I want to say to you is that these people exist. Now we're going to see one individual who is Khidr in the story. So Musa alayhi salam, says to his, he has his young person who's his servant. His name is Yusha ibn Nun. Yusha bin Nun. Now Yusha later on becomes a prophet, but he's a young man now. And he's traveling with Musa alayhi salam. So after Musa alayhi salam passes away, Yusha becomes the prophet. So this is young man with Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam said, look, Allah told me, get a basket, get a fish, put it inside, and this fish is going to become alive at some point while we walk on the seaside, and where it becomes alive, you tell me, you carry this basket, you tell me where it becomes alive, and then we'll find this individual there. So Yusha, comes with Musa alayhi salam, and they're walking, and as they're walking, Musa alayhi salam says that, look, I've got to, and that it's got to be a certain place where there are two seas that will meet. This is in ayah number 60 of surah number 18. Two seas that will meet. Now again, which two seas are these? There's been ikhtilaf in the tafsirs, and some have said where the Indian Ocean will meets the Red Sea, it's there. Some have said where the Atlantic Ocean meets another one, it's there. But anyway, there are several places in the world where the two seas meet. Now what he means by two seas meet is that there is a salty one and there is a sweet one, and the water of one doesn't cross the other, the fish of one don't cross there's a kind of a barrier. And if you want to search this on YouTube, you can find, exactly, you can see where the two seas are from an aerial view, how Allah has created it. And this is one of his signs anyway, which we're not going to delve into right now. So he said, either I'm going to find this, or he said, أَوْ أَمْضِيَ حُقُبًا, or I will continue for years and years until I find this individual, because I want to learn from this individual. Allah is telling me there's somebody who knows more than me on the earth, and I want to find this. Now, what this teaches us is that if you want to learn, you have to travel. This is one of the best ways to learn. If you expect knowledge to come to your feet and to your house, then it doesn't work like that. Even Imam Bukhari rahimahullah's time, the king asked Imam Bukhari, I think it was Imam Bukhari or it could have been Imam Malik. The king said, I want you to come to my royal palace and teach my sons, the princes. I want you to teach them from your knowledge. And Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he said, Al-ilmu yu'ta ilay wa la ya'ti ilayk. He said, knowledge is something where others come to the knowledge where the knowledge is, and knowledge doesn't travel to come to you. Okay, so here's Musa alayhi salam traveling for the knowledge, and it tells us that, sometimes when you make a sacrifice, you seriously learn. And the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, ajma'in, even the Tabi'in, they made thousands of miles of a journey to learn. Anyway, ayah number 61. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَجْمَعَ بَيْنِهِمَا, when they came to where the two seas meet, they rested there. نَسِيَ حُوتَهُمَا, both of them forgot about the fish. It was a dead fish in a basket, and what happened is that the fish suddenly became alive, and it jumped up and went straight to the sea, and it went inside in such a way that when it dived into the water, wherever it dived, it left a plain, clear pathway of air in the water. This was Ajib. Now, this is strange. The student who was Yusha, the traveler, the servant of Musa alayhi salam, he saw this. And he said, I will, tell Musa alayhi salam that we're here now. This is the place. But he fell asleep as well. And then they got up and they continued to travel. Yusha forgot about the incident, and they crossed that path, that part of the seaside, and they carried on traveling. According to Tafsir, they traveled for the rest of the day, part of the night. They rested again, and in the morning, Musa alayhi salam was starving. So he said, "Look, bring the food that we brought along for breakfast. Let's eat now. Let's eat, because we're really out of our wits with this traveling, and we're tired." Now, as soon as he mentioned food, Yusha remembered the fish. So he said, "Oh Musa," he said, "remember when we passed this big rock on the way, this massive rock, and we rested there? Well, I forgot about the fish, and that's where the incident happened. Wama ansani," who he said, "Look, no one must have made me forget about it except for the shaitan, that I would remember this to tell you about this. And I remember it taking a pathway in the sea in a way that I've never seen a fish go in there. Like wherever it went, it left air, so it made a hollow path as it went inside." And this is in ayah number 63 of Surah 18. Now, when he mentions this, there's another thing we learn. He gives his reasoning for why he forgot. Why? Because Musa alayhi salam is not an ordinary individual. Okay, Musa alayhi salam will get angry. Okay, so to give his excuse that don't get angry with me, he said, "Wama ansanihu illa shaitan," and shaitan must have made me forget about this. And what the ulama also say is that you can be excused as a person who is learning, that you forgot something that you sort of supposed to remember. It's natural. And this Yusha later on is going to become alayhi salam, is going to become a prophet. So even people who have a high ability, there's nothing wrong if they just forget an incident, forget something. Anyway, Musa alayhi salam says, ayah number 64, he says, ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِي. That's exactly what we wanted. فَارْتَدَّ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمَا قَصَصًا. They look back at their footprints, they follow their footprints all the way till they come to the exact spot where the rock is. When they come to the rock, now they look around and they see that there is a servant, عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. There is a servant of, Allah says, one of my servants. آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا. I gave him blessing, I gave him mercy from myself and blessing from myself. وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. And I taught him directly knowledge where he did not go to anywhere to learn it. He got it direct, straight in his heart. Now, this was a peculiar individual because he was dressed, according to Hadith of Bukhari, he was dressed in a cloak. He was wearing a white cloak. And when Musa alayhi salam said, "Are you Khidr?" he said, "Who are you? What do you want? Who are you? What do you want?" Just as, remember, Uwais al-Qarni is like, "Who are you here? I don't want to see people." Right? So Khidr says to Musa alayhi salam, "What do you want?" Musa alayhi salam says, "Look," he says, "Do you know who I am?" He says, "No, I don't know who you are." So, "I'm Musa." So Khidr says, "You're Musa of Banu Israel." So he knows there is a Musa of Banu Israel. "Are you Musa of Banu Israel?" He says, "Yes, I am Musa of Banu Israel." He said, "What do you want?" He said, "Well, Allah told me to come and learn from you." He said, "Hal attabi'uka, can I be your student? And I want to follow you. I want to travel with you. Ala an tu'allimani mimma 'ullimta rushda." That I want to receive some of the knowledge that you have been given, and so that you can direct me with my knowledge. So basically, I'm humbling myself in front of you that your knowledge is somehow greater than my knowledge, because Allah has told me that you know more than me. And I want to become your student." Now the ulama have written quite a bit on this, that how a prophet of Allah humbles him so much in front of a man who is not a prophet of Allah. Now there are two opinions about Khidr. Some say he was a prophet and some say he wasn't a prophet. But the second opinion is much stronger, that he wasn't a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal. So, and he asks him to guide him specifically with what he knows from Allah. Now, subhanallah, even though a prophet knows so much and he's got the Torah and he's got the best of what Allah could have given him, he's still asking for guidance. What does that mean? That means we people who already know things, we need to humble ourselves and learn from people who know more than us. And we carry on learning. And I'm telling you this, I am above 40 now in age, and I've still got teachers who I go to and I learn from. Why? Because knowledge doesn't stop until you can go to the grave, it will still not stop. Knowledge is ongoing. I'm learning, like from the time I left the Madaris. I mean, one of the things they told us is that after studying 9 years in a boarding school, they said to us that in the last day when we were graduating, they said, please remember, we're not certifying that you know it all. We're only certifying that now you've got the ability, we're certifying that you've got the ability to now study on your own. But now studying starts here. This is where studying starts. And now you go and study. It's like basically the day you finish passing your driving test, it doesn't mean that you're the most fantastic driver. And all of you who pass driving know that. All right. It just means that now you've got the skills to now go on the road on your own. That's all it means. Okay. So we all know that because we know you pass your driving test. Is there anyone here who passed driving but never hit his car, ever bumped or anything? Anyone here? Can I put their hands up? Anyone? No, not me even, yeah? No problem, Allah. So what happens is that this is a very humble way that Allah Azza wa Jal brings Musa alayhi salam to Khidr, and then he says to him, can I please learn from you and can you guide me? And Khidr has one answer for him. He says, there is no doubt. He said, I have no doubt you will never be able to, this is a fact that I have no doubt in, that you will never be able to bear patience with me. And then he adds his reasoning. He says, وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ? How will you have patience and be able to withhold yourself عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا, upon matters which you haven't completely surrounded the affair with knowledge, with answers. Now, this is a very important part of the lesson that we're doing, of this lesson, which is, he says, مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا, ayah number 68 of surah number 18. What this means is that you can be a knowledgeable person, and your knowledge can tell you about the matter and what you know of it. But there will be somebody who's more knowledgeable and somebody more knowledgeable. And Allah has said in the Holy Quran, and we covered this in Surah Yusuf, or the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, that وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمًا. Above everyone who has knowledge is somebody who has more knowledge. And above everybody else is who? Allah Azza wa Jal, who has most knowledge. Now, from Allah's knowledge, Allah hasn't even given us anything from His knowledge. Not even an iota, not even a single piece. And what Allah's knowledge does is, our knowledge sees the zahir. Allah says in the Holy Quran in Surah Rum in the beginning, Surah number 30, He says, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. They only can see the most apparent thing of the life of this world. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ حَيَاةِ الدُّنْيا. This is in Surah Rum, very, very important lesson I'm giving ourselves, because this story is going to teach us deep matters about us having sabr, patience, and is going to teach us deep matters of qadr and the fate of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, so this is now Surah 30, and I'll just give you the quick the verse. Surah number 30, Surah Rum, and ayah number 7. They only know the most apparent thing of this world, meaning that all the scientists and all the people exploring this world and all the people who are philosophers and whatever, you only can judge by what you see most apparent. You can't go beyond that. What's beyond that? Well, Allah explains. Allah explains in Surah number Surah Luqman, Surah number 31, ayah number 34. Allah says, Inna Allah indahu ilmu sa'a. Allah has the knowledge of the hour. Is there any human being that can ever work out when the last hour is going to come? Yes or no?
No.
No. Not even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Jibreel alayhi salam comes to him and says, Mata sa'a, when is going to be the last hour? He says, the one who is being questioned doesn't know any more than the one who is questioning. I don't know about that. So that's one. Second one, وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ. Allah has the knowledge of when, knowledge of the coming down of rain. Now, you're going to stop here, you're going to say, hey, hang on a minute, we've got weather forecasts, man. We've got weather stations. We can find out about moist and temperature and density and, about sea level and the rising of that. We've got so much knowledge. But Allah didn't mean that. Allah didn't mean that you can predict, between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, there's going to be some rain tomorrow. No, Allah did not say that. Allah's knowledge, when He says He knows the rain, is this. He knows every single particle from where exactly it's going to come from the earth, where exactly it's going to rise, where exactly it's going to form within the clouds, when precisely down to the last millisecond it's going to drop from the sky, where the wind is going to blow, which temperature is going to have, which direction the wind will blow, where exactly this raindrop, this is one raindrop, where this one raindrop is going to go around and fall, finally exact spot where it falls. And where it falls, how deep is going to go into the ground, which root of a tree or a plant is going to go into, or in a human's mouth or an animal's mouth is going to go into, and that's drop. Where it goes into the tree, where exactly it ends up, and what it grows into the tree, what part of the fruit it goes into, and that fruit, how long it's going to take for it to grow, and that one raindrop is somewhere in that fruit. Yes or no, guys? Yeah, and that fruit is going to grow for another 9 months, and that still raindrop is in the fruit, and it's become the fruit now. And that fruit is going to be picked up by somebody, where it's going to go into a truck, and that truck is going to then take it to another depot, and that depot is going to sort it out, and it's going to go to the wholesalers, and the wholesalers will then ship it out to another country, and that country is going to then take it into their import, and then they start taking it quickly straight through into retailers, and the retailers are going to have in a shop, and that raindrop is still in that fruit. And the fact that you're going to come, shop, and not pick the fruit, but somebody else picks the fruit, and then they put it back down. Why? Because Allah wrote it for who? For you. And you pick it up, you take it home. And even though it stays on the table for 7 days, and your whole family see it and relatives see it, nobody picks that fruit up. And then the fact that you eat it, and that raindrop ends up in your stomach, that is Allah's knowledge for one raindrop. And He has the knowledge for every single raindrop, for every single one, trillions and trillions of them, for everyone till the day of judgment, when it's going to fall, where it's going to go, how it's going to go, and the whole of life. Because life is upon water, right? If you've got no water, you've got no life. Whether it's fruits, animals, humans, birds, anything, there's no water, there's no life. And the whole of the world's water, where it's going, where life is, Allah's got all of that. And that is Allah's knowledge of intricate details. Now next one. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. Allah knows what's in the mother's wombs. Now you're going to stop there. But Shaykh, there's people now they can tell you whether it's a boy or a girl. Why in the world did Allah say here boy, girl? Did Allah say that? No. Allah knows the fetus inside. Allah knows right from the semen to the fetus, to the birth of the baby, to the growth of the baby, to, forget boy or girl. Allah will tell you the brain cells, the deficiencies, the genes, the DNA, the molecules, the things that we don't even know, the hair, how much hair on the head and what happens, and every part of the person's life right till his death or her death, and every minute detail of that, Allah knows it. What will actually happen, and that's meaning that fetus right now in the womb, Allah knows the whole future of this baby, whether it will be alive, whether it will be dead, when it will die, when it will be alive, where it will get his rizq from, all that He knows. And then Allah says, وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. No human, no person knows what they will earn tomorrow. We don't know that. And even if you had a machine to tell you what's going to happen, it's never going to be with what Allah's knowledge is. And then the final thing Allah says, وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No soul knows which land you're going to die in. Only Allah knows which soul you're going to die in. And there's no challenge with Allah in any of these 5 things. So what Khidr is saying here is, you cannot have sabr with the things I'm going to do, because I'm a person who's ordered by Allah. He's not saying all these words now. I'm just trying to give you a good explanation. I'm a person who's ordered by Allah, and the intricate details of what Allah has, some of that Allah has given me. So I can see through of what is going to happen. And therefore I do things which you will be beyond your comprehension, and you will not be able to have sabr. So Musa alayhi salam says, Satajiduni, soon you will certainly find me. Insha'Allah, if Allah wills. Sabiran, I will have patience. Wala a'asi laka amra, and in anything you do, I will not disobey you. I will become the most humble student you've got. You do whatever you like. I just want to walk around with you. I want to learn from you, and you can guide me. That's what I want from you, but I will not open my mouth and I will not say anything. I will have sabr. Now Khidr is thinking, well, this man sent from Allah, otherwise he wouldn't know who I was. Okay. Khidr then puts a condition to Musa alayhi salam. You want to become a teacher of someone? Well, teacher can always put a condition, and you better meet that condition. He says, فَإِنِ اتَّبَعْتَنِي, if you're going to follow me, فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِي عَنْ شَيْءٍ, I don't want any questions. Don't say to me why I did this, why I did not do this. Don't ask me any questions. حَتَّى أُحْدِثَ لَكَ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا, until I'm the one who will reveal to you why I did this or that. But I'll tell you in the end. But while I'm going out there doing my duties, I don't want any interruption. So Musa alayhi salam agrees. Fine, no interruption from me. Fine. So now it's just Musa and Khidr. Yusha bin Nun has left them now. So the two of them travel. And Musa alayhi salam is quiet. Khidr is quiet. And they're just walking. They're just walking by the seaside. And they come to a place where there's a ship going by, or there's a boat rather. A boat is going by. And there are many sailors going from one side of this, there's a kind of a place where, you can cross people over, where the two seas are, meeting. There's a point to cross people over to the other side. So Khidr, as he's walking, the sailors recognize Khidr, and they say to him, do you want to ride on the other side? And Khidr thinks, okay, fine. So he gets up on with Musa alayhi salam onto the boat. And the sailors are so, fond of Khidr. They say, look, no, don't give us the money. We don't want money from you. Khidr offering, for him and Musa. And they say, no, take it. Don't worry about it. So now they've been kind to Khidr. How they know this man, nobody knows, but they respect him. And as they're about to go and sail across to the other side, because they take people from this side to the other side, it's a busy place, busy junction. People from this side to that side, and they come back and forth all day. And there are many other, boats going across. As they're about to go, and they're going a little bit, suddenly Khidr takes an item. He then hits the plank underneath. He then damages not only the plank, but he brings the plank up slightly, where some water now starts to seep inside the boat. And then Khidr takes some cloth, and then he puts it into the damage that he's caused, where the water is now trying to flow in. So he just suddenly got it and bang, and then trying to rip this thing. And Musa alayhi salam, the rest of them are looking at him, what crazy! What is he doing? All of a sudden, nice guy, he hasn't said a word yet. Suddenly he does this, and then he takes some cloth and he puts it inside so that the water can't, gush inside. And then Musa alayhi salam says to him, what are you trying to do? You damage his boat to try and drown all of us on this? لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا, you're doing something really strange. Absolutely shocking. What are you doing? And Khidr turns around to him, says, أَلَمْ أَقُلْ, did not say, إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا, you will surely not be able to have sabr and patience with me. Now Musa alayhi salam calms himself down. He says, La tu'akhidni. He remembers the condition. He says, La tu'akhidni, don't take me to task for something I have forgotten. Wala turhiqni min amli usra. And don't rebuke me and make my life difficult right now. It was a mistake. I forgot. Okay, fine, I admit. So they get off the boat. And when they get off the boat, they're now walking back on the seaside again. No, nothing Khidr is saying, nothing Musa is saying, alayhi salam. And as they're walking, they come across some children playing on the beach, having a nice, fun, laughter, children playing. And as they go past the children, Khidr suddenly turns around grabs the child by the head, in front of his friends, twists his neck, breaks it, drops him there in the dead on the ground. And you can imagine Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam says, أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً بِغَيْرِ نَفْسٍ. Now, okay, damaging a boat is something, okay? Damaging a boat is something, but you, man, whoa, you just killed an innocent soul without this soul having killed anyone else. There's no explanation. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا نُكْرًا. What you've done is absolutely gobsmacking. There are no words for it. Nukra, it's so strange that what you've done. Now, remember when Musa a.s. first came, listen to these words. When Musa a.s. first came, Khidr said, إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. إِنَّكَ لَن, you will surely not be able to have patience with me. When Musa a.s. spoke on the boat, he said to him, Alam aqul, didn't I tell you? Or didn't I say you will not be able to have patience? This time now, he says, this is ayah number 75 of Surah 18, he says, Alam aqul laka innaka lan tastati'a sabra ma'iya sabra. Didn't I tell you that you will surely not be able to have patience with me? Now he's emphasizing, each one differs, because first time he didn't add that many words. Second time he says, didn't I say? And now he's saying, didn't I tell you? Meaning that you won't be able to bear with me. And Musa a.s. then says, In sa'altuka an shay'in ba'daha, if I ask you once more after this, fine. فَلَا تُصَاحِبْنِي, let's split. We won't be companions anymore. لَقَدْ بَلَغْتَ مِنْ لَدُنِّي عُذْرًا. You've given me enough excuses. Enough chances you've given me. Okay? Now they then travel. Now they basically carry on traveling. They now, both of them are hungry. So they come to this village. They're now inland. They come to a village. And Khidr and Musa, both of them are starving. So they knock on a door and they said, we're travelers. Now, normally, a traveler just needs to knock on the door and say, we're travelers, and people will just run to them, give them food, and look after them. This was that time. Okay, even today you go to the Arab lands, if you're a traveler, you get things thrown at you. There are many parts of the Arab land that will do that. This is customary in that place. So all they needed to do is turn up as travelers and they would get food. But they knocked on a door, they said, we're travelers. Door got slammed in their face. Okay, so they went to another door, they said, we're travelers. And the door got slammed in their face. So they went to another door. And now they start to say, have you got any food? We're travelers. As in, come on guys, people, what are you doing? It's customary. We're travelers, we're starving, we're hungry. We should have something. And this is okay for them to ask like this. It's not they're begging or anything. It's customary. It should have been done anyway. And every person in the whole of the village, from A to Z, every single person shut their door on their face and didn't even care. And Musa's thinking, alayhi salam is thinking, this is strange, we've never seen this. And as they're walking out of the village, Khidr stops, tells them to stop, rolls his sleeves up. He's seeing a wall now, bending. This wall is about to fall. If they leave it for a few more days, it's going to fall. Khidr pulls his things up, stops Musa alayhi salam, and he gets dirty with his hands and starts to mend an entire wall on his own. He's starving. So is Musa. And Musa is watching. He's mending a wall. And where does the wall belong to? These villages. It's their wall. And Musa is thinking, come on, this is like hot. You're tired. You're hungry. And this man, okay, I'm not going to tell him why. I'm just going to ask him a question. So he said to him, he said, لو شئت, if you wanted, لاتخذت عليه أجرا, you could have mended this wall, but asked the people to give us some food in return of mending this wall. So this is not an objection. I remember the two other ones were like, he was saying, Jit, how did you do that? And how? This one, he's calm, he's collective, he's not accusing him, he's just saying, you could have done this. And as soon as he said that, Khidr turned around to him and said, that's it. Firaqu bayni wa baynik. Between me and you, we can't stay anymore together. سَأُنَبِّئُكَ بِتَأْوِيلِ مَا لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. Now I will reveal to you what you couldn't have patience over. Why? Because Musa alayhi salam can't see deep into matters. And this is part of knowledge which Allah has given to Khidr, which He hasn't given to Musa. There's one other part I just wanted to tell you is that when they were on the boat, I mentioned this the other day, but I'm going to mention it specifically again. When they were on the boat, there was a bird that came to the edge of the boat, according to Sahih Hadith of Bukhari, and the bird just took a drop of water or something from the sea. And Khidr commented, he said, Musa, you see that bird there? He said, my knowledge and your knowledge, which is what? Your knowledge of the whole Torah and the Sharia, and Allah has given you the knowledge of the seen. And my knowledge, which is the unseen world, part of the unseen world Allah has given me. Both together, what Allah has revealed to you, what Allah has revealed to me. Because Allah is never going to give you everything, never going to give me everything. All that together, compared to Allah's knowledge, is like the drop that this bird takes from the rest of the ocean, and the ocean is the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So this is amazing. These are the most two knowledgeable people on the earth, and this is what they're saying about knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So anyway, He now reveals to him. He says, Amma Safina. He says, as for the boat we were on, فَكَانَتْ لِمَسَاكِنْ. This used to belong to some poor people, poor sailors. Now, they didn't have much. They just had this ship or this boat. And with this boat, they go across and they come back and forth, back and forth. يَعْمَلُونَ فِي الْبَحْرِ. They are working on the sea. فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا. I decided to cause some damage to it because, this is the part you don't see. وَرَاءَهُمْ مَلِكٌ يَأْخُذُ كُلَّ سَفِينَةٍ غَصْبًا. Just at that moment when they were heading, Allah revealed to me that if the boat travels to the other side, a king will pass at that particular instance. And if that king at that instant sees any boat he likes, he will just take it. Any good boat. So I caused the damage in the boat, so that when they go to the other side, even if the king sees that boat, according to one tafsir, when they go to the other side, the king will see the boat, and the king will see that this is a damaged boat. They need to fix this boat. So he won't take the boat off them. And according to another tafsir, these sailors, they had to come back straight away and start fixing it before they took the next passengers. And by the time they took it to the other side, the king had already gone. Okay, this king was an oppressive king, and he would take any good boat he finds. Now, isn't it better that they have a boat that is damaged than not to have a boat at all? Which one's better? Just a damaged one, right? Now, I want you to concentrate on this. Me and you, I want you to just sit with Musa alayhi salam for a little while. Me and you sit with Musa alayhi salam, we're one of the passengers. Imagine we're one of the passengers, we're sitting there. We don't know this other thing. We don't know this king and what it takes, none of that. We just sit there and this madman damages and we think, Ya Allah, you will get off the boat. My God, did you see that the guys? I mean, the sailors even did him a favor. They didn't even charge him. We would be one of the passengers saying that, what kind of ridiculous person is that? I mean, we just basically speaking just as Musa alayhi salam would speak. Musa alayhi salam is actually us. He's us. In a world where you can only see what you see, with all the things happening in the world, with the qadr of Allah, that you don't see what's behind it. You don't see behind the fate. Why there's damage somewhere on the earth? Why there was an accident somewhere? Why someone did something wrong? Me and you are just blaming the person. But what we don't see is something beyond that. And here's where Allah reveals that to be able to hold yourself back and appreciate what's happening, you can only do that if you have the intricate details of the future and what Allah Azza wa Jal has put in there. And we don't have that. Musa alayhi salam never had that, and that's why we speak. Then it says, as for the young boy, the one that he twisted his neck and broke his neck and left him dead there, he said his parents are two believers. فَخَشِينَا أَن يُرْهِقَهُمَا. We feared that when this kid grows up, today he's innocent, he's a lovely child, but Allah knows the future again. And Allah's future, knowing the future, has already revealed to Khidr that this boy will grow up to become a criminal. In fact, he will become one that will reject Iman and faith. And he will become so bad that he will hurt his parents. And he will then go on so bad that he will influence his parents, and he will make his parents leave Islam as well. Leave the true faith as well. Now you can imagine what's written in the future. This one lovely boy playing on the seaside. So nice, cute, and Musa saying, you killed this soul. Now, what Allah's knowledge reveals to us is the reason why Allah got Khidr to kill him is because of all these other factors, and nobody knows this. فَأَرَدْنَا أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا. Now you might think, well, that's still sad. But Allah reveals in ayah number 81 of Surah 18, He says, فَأَرَدْنَا أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ زَكَاةً وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا. Just there and then when the child drops dead, straight away Allah has given the mother of this child in her womb, Allah has given another child in return of this one. But the mother doesn't know it's return of the other one, does she? What the mother doesn't realize is what the new baby is, it's a replacement of the one she's just lost. And Allah then reveals, خَيْرًا مِنْهُ, a better child than the one she's lost. Zakatan, more purified and more spiritual this child. وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا, and the one that will look after both parents when they're old. Now what will happen is, this new child will be born, this new child grows up, this new child is a really devout and pious child, this new child will look after the parents in old age, this new child will be the comfort of their lives when he grows up. But you know what will happen here is, if we were the parents, or we knew of this family. Imagine you're the father or the mother and you listen to this, yeah? You suddenly get news. These boys run in and they say, auntie or uncle, this madman, his boss, he grabs, his head and just killed him, he's all dead and blah. And you, the parents, are going to be completely devastated. What? And you'll run to the seaside, you'll see your kid dead there. And I'm saying things that are not here, but I want you to imagine, because the Quran tells us to imagine. It wants us to read these and think beyond. So imagine you saw this and your child's dead and you cry and you think, if I could find that murderer, I want to kill him. But what you don't realize is, the murderer is someone who was sent by who? Allah. On this occasion, Allah. And you're crying, and imagine the mother, all her life, she's going to be scarred. She'll cry. More than the father will be devastated. And they'll go on for years, remembering the lovely child that died, playing innocently on a seaside somewhere. And they will get a new child, but still this child to them doesn't take away the memories that they had. And all life they will say, why? They can't understand. Until they die, and then they reunited with the other son, and Allah reveals to them that, oh mother, oh father of this child, I did that. Why? Because look at the future. What I did to you was a favor. Why? Because when I took your child away at young age, what happens to a child that dies in young age? Goes to Jannah. So instead of him going to Jahannam, I sent him to Jannah. And instead of him becoming a kafir and hurting you, which would have been worse, I gave you small hurt. You lost your child, but it's better having a child who is dead but is in Jannah than to have a child who is alive and on the way to Jahannam. Yes or no, guys? Yes. Well, that's it. And when Allah reveals that to them in the next life, they will be thanking Allah for what He did for them. But we don't know this. Right? We don't know this. And this is qadr that has been revealed. Meaning that, look, all the tragedies happening. I know there are certain tragedies humans are doing and they're responsible. Okay? We're not saying no human is responsible for a tragedy. Okay? When human does something, is responsible. You can't just say, Allah made me do it. You understand? Like my Ustad Mullah Fadl Rahim Sahib, he said a wonderful thing. He said, what happened is this man went into another man's garden. There's a mango tree there. So the man who doesn't own the house climbed over the fence, went to the mango tree, he climbed up. He went onto the mango tree and started taking the mangoes down, peeling them while he's on the mango tree and eating them. The owner came out and said, hey you, what are you doing? He said, hey, hang on a minute. Allah's servant comes on Allah's tree and eats from Allah's mango. Yeah. Allah made me Allah made the tree, Allah made the mango. Allah feeding me from His tree and from His mango to His servant. Allahu Akbar. So the guy basically the owner went inside his house. He bought a big cane out. Came to the man and went, whack, 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 beat him up. Hey, 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 what are you doing? What are you beating him up for? He said, hey, Allah's servant takes Allah's cane and beats Allah's servant. You can't make an excuse that Allah just made you do it, okay? So I know there are human tragedies out there, we have to take responsibility for that. But there are natural tragedies which we can't understand. Those we know that Allah has got a hikmah, He's got wisdom, He knows the intricate details, and He will reveal to us on the Day of Judgment what we don't know right now, okay? And then we come to the final part where He reveals that the wall I mended, it belongs to 2 orphans who are in the village, who live there. But beneath that wall there's treasures. Now Allahu Akbar, who knows there's treasures under this? And He says, well, those treasures, they belong to the orphans. Their father died, and the father was a good, and this is the whole history being revealed now. The father was a pious man, he's died, he left 2 orphans, and because he was pious, Allah wanted to secure the treasures for the sons, that when they grow up, one day they'll find them. Allah will make the wall fall at a time when the boys will be there, and they'll understand, they'll be told, these were your father's treasures. If they're young and the wall falls, and even if the two orphans are told, this was your father's treasure, they will come, but they won't be able to take it, because the villagers who never fed Musa and Khidr any food, do you think they're going to spare any jewels for their children? No way. But if the boys are big, they'll be able to defend themselves. So Allah wants them to grow up. So Allah told Khidr, mend it right now for another few years, then it'll fall down. And then they can take their treasures out. Now subhanAllah, this is where Khidr does something good. And if we're like Musa, we're thinking, man, that is not right. You could have got something in return for that. And we're thinking, no, that good shouldn't happen unless that good is with another good. We want the good of the food, and then you can have the good of the wall. No good of the wall, no good food, no good wall. We want either that together, or forget them. And Musa and Khidr says, no, that's not how it works. Sometimes you do good when you got evil, and that's what's going to happen. Meaning that Allah will make that system on the earth as well. And there's a lot of revelation now further on this ayah, and also on this whole story, and a few more things about Musa alayhi salam. I'm going to talk about inshallah next week. Yeah, inshallah. So please come next week, inshallah. See you 7:30. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الذكر علم ونور الحاملات سنا ونور والرسمات هنا سرور يا حلوة تلك السنين.
The Safar curriculum covers all the Islamic educational needs of young Muslims today in a fun, simple and engaging way. Tried and tested for over 15 years at one of the UK's leading maktabs. The curriculum has been adopted by hundreds of institutions around the world and makes your child's journey in seeking knowledge easy, meaningful and dynamic. This innovative and comprehensive curriculum covers Quran and Tajweed, Islamic studies, du'as and surahs, as well as Arabic in an integrated and structured way. Visit safarpublications.org to find out more.